So I completed Death Stranding 2, and you know what? I have absolutely no desire to go back to it. I've gone on to scour the internet to see if anyone else has any similar takeaways from the game that I do. But, alas, I may be one of the few and only ones that has this opinion. Anyway, just as a heads up, there will be spoilers, so proceed with caution. For everyone else, hello, and thanks for stopping by. So, allow me to begin by saying I've been a big fan of the Metal Gear series since my formative years. It had a huge impact on the industry. I think that's something we can all agree on, considering that it was one of the first titles to ever have like cutscenes fully voiced and acted, much like a movie. Kojima then went on to top the very first Metal Gear Solid with Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater in 2004. And to this day, I'll die on the hill that the boss is one of the greatest female characters ever written. Anyways, there's just so much complexity to that character. It wasn't, like you see today where you get the cheap girl bosses. They're always perfect and awesome in everything they do. Then went on to do MGS4 in, what was that, 2008? And even that, as wacky as it was a follow up to MGS2 with all that, Raiden BS, which again, he could have been a really badass character, but I guess he fumbled that, considering, he was a child soldier and he could have been like really, really, twisted. But no, they just made him a pushover. The way it wrapped everything up in a very, very satisfying way between all the characters, like you had Mei Ling and Otacon, and it was Snake's like last mission. It had the romance, it had the action, it had really, really good character building. And I mean, you even really liked Ocelot, even though he was an asshole. After that, he made MGS5, which, as we all know, it didn't end well because he had to leave Konami and then start up his own studio, which, they had their own fallout and whatnot, but I guess it is what it is. I moved on from that, but it was actually kind of incomplete. My opinion, DS2, it seems like Kojima hasn't. With 2019's Death Stranding, people gave it a lot of shit. It definitely takes a long time to really build up. If you really stuck with it, you would see that became a lot more than just a walking simulator. In fact, to me, it was a very different kind of game to Metal Gear. It was definitely its own thing. I guess I would say like a puzzle game where it's almost like you're rucking. It's you're going on ruck marches with a bunch of like packages and gear and stuff, and because of when it came out, I don't know, that's just an experience never to be replicated again, in my opinion, because you had the whole theme of like, the world is over and you have to rebuild, and to do that we need to connect everybody to the chiral network, and everyone's like so gracious and appreciative of everything Sam's doing in that game, and you know, and by extension, really you, right? But it was cool because it also had like this massive sense of community, which you don't really get a lot of in a game, especially one where it's like completely single player, right? Because you're doing your own thing. You're not going to come across any other players, but at the same time, you'd set up, like a ladder or like posts so people can like rappel or something down a mountain. Building bridges literally help other porters on their deliveries and stuff. And you really, really found like this I don't know, this, like I said, a sense of like community and belonging. Like everyone's really like working together to accomplish, something bigger than themselves, but everybody has, their own sort of contributions towards the, larger goal. It was very, very unique. So with Death Stranding 2, I mean, it's been what, 5 years? I was really looking forward to this one, and halfway through, certain things start happening, and I was like kind of cautiously optimistic. This is exactly why I like to, experience things on my own before like delving into like reviews and whatnot. Like I like to make up my own opinion on stuff, as anyone else should, right? But with this one, it was very shocking to me because we had, the obvious like GameSpot review, which had a lot of backlash, and I see a lot of praise for Death Stranding 2 in a way that I don't really understand or see why people really seem to like this one as much. Now, I will say that what they accomplished with the Decima engine in this one is nothing short of remarkable. It actually is like a looker, even on a base console. Uh, and who knows what will happen once, and maybe if they port it down the line to PC, even just like I said, standard console, it looks absolutely amazing. Uh, the world is massive, especially once you get to like Australia in it. Huge, huge. And it's incredibly detailed. And then, the choice in music in this is just weird, man. Like every song is like all high pitch and fucking lame. It's always like some pansy dude singing. It sounds like someone just grabbed him by the ball bag and twisted as hard as he could. Instead, you could have had something that's like, you know, Los Hermanos Gutierrez, I don't know, maybe some morphine to go along with like those dark, sad themes that, are throughout the game, or Nick Cave. And hell, since we're in Australia, why not give King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard some love? You know what I mean? But no, we don't get any of that, which is unfortunate. To me, DS2 is pretty much everything DS1 should have been from the outset, basically. Like, you get a vehicle almost like right away. It makes everything a little easier, to the point that it kind of takes away from what made the first title so unique. Because now you can just bypass most obstacles, honestly. Later on, like you don't even really encounter BTs because you can just drive around them at some points. And then with the mules, I guess, I don't know, I forget what they call them in this one, but basically the mules, right, from the first one, like they're the other guys that like steal your stuff and they're enemies, combatants. Well, they made this one so that you're dealing with them more head on and whatnot, right? And that's cool. It gives you a bunch of tools to do that, which is great. Fantastic. Gameplay wise, it's everything the first title should have been, right? But my issue is with where the story starts to turn. And I get, it's got like these themes of loss, and the opening of the title, you're with, Lou, and she's like a toddler now. About it's like a couple months after the original, and Fragile shows up and gives you a basic like, hey, can you go down to Mexico and connect them up to the chiral network. So you go off, do your thing. She stays with Lou, takes care of her while you're going around connecting Mexico. So then, like while we're in Mexico in the game, we kind of go back to find Del Toro's characters in this. Again, he reprises his role, and then he has this scene.
How is it, by the way? The two of you living as a family. Right. I have gifts for you. A few things to take back home. An assortment of vaccines to be administered as your child grows up. We want Lou to live a long and healthy life.
And I can look past that, sure, right? But I was already like, okay, this is kind of weird. Kojima isn't the kind of guy that just throws something in there for no reason. It just seems like his mind was made on this one, and he had to lecture us on vaccines, which is just bizarre. Okay, whatever. That's weird, but I was already getting kind of cautious with where things were headed with this, and my guard was up. So then you come back, and then this game's just full of homages to Metal Gear to a point that it's like, come on, man, do you not have your own identity now? You know, it's like we got to keep, like nudging your shoulder, but hey, remember this from Metal Gear? So, yeah, you go cross back over the United States and you come across these like mech soldier guys, I guess, and they get taken out by none other than a ninja. Yes, a cyborg ninja, basically. And, Sam has the same kind of reaction to him as, Solid Snake did in MGS1. Like, who the hell? Right? So then, it continues on. And yeah, like, Fragile's under attack. Whatever, your shelter is getting raided by these guys, and that's when the story takes like this really like kind of dark turn. I was surprised that it went there, which is like, hey, that's cool, like I'm all for it, as long as it tells something that's like, you know, good, I suppose. But it's, like Fragile has Lou, and they get attacked or whatever, and it's you know, Higgs from the first game, whatever, and he's about to fucking gun her down. And then she does her warp thing, but she can't get away. So then something happens, blah, blah, Lou's gone. Uh, and yeah, Lou's, for all intents and purposes at this point of the game, she's dead. And, and this is where it starts to get really, really problematic for me, right? Because throughout the rest of the game, really, the only person that shows any kind of remorse, guilt, sadness is really just Sam. And while Fragile was there the whole time, she's moved on, uh, and it's just Sam really that's upset about this. When you take into consideration that Fragile was there for the whole thing. Like he didn't even get to say bye, right? And that's my issue with it because throughout the game, it just seems that Sam is the punching bag for the rest of the female characters, and oh boy, let me tell you, there's quite a bunch of them, and they're all amazing as they are. And it's really jarring to me because it almost seems like it's a dismantling of everything that Sam is. If you're expecting any kind of positive, like father figures in this story, you're not going to find it. Even with one of the antagonists, he's a cuck. All right. He's a cuck to Sam's kid, apparently, and he's betrayed by this woman that's Sam's therapist. Because, yes, Sam is pathetic and sad and he needs therapy and he's just a punching bag for like all the other characters, which is just completely out of left field because you don't get any of this stuff with the first title. And why does it seem like Sam is constantly interrupting a scissor sister love triangle? It's just so bizarre. Here, look at this.
Hey, be safe out there.
Thank you.
What if you run into trouble on the way?
We'll be fine. Remember, you're talking to the former head of Fragile Express.
You two be all right?
We all have dooms. No need to worry about us.
And we're tougher than you, too.
Right. So watch yourself out there.
Take care of each other.
Just, yeah, man, what a mess, really. If someone like loses a child or something like that, like you're not gonna tell them how much better you are than them. Like you're not gonna keep putting them down, which is just bizarre because we're supposed to look at these characters as likable and stuff, but like everything they do spits in the face of that. Like they're downright pieces of shit at one point. Like, with Fragile, like she admits later on that she used Sam because he was in denial about losing Lou or something. It's just outrageous, man. And I don't know how nobody's talking about this. It's crazy to me. But then, yeah, things happen. And we end up going to Australia, right? So we got to go to Australia and connect some sick cunts to the chiral network, man. All throughout DS2, we just constantly get homages to the former greatness of the Metal Gear games. I mean, like, you even get the ninja. You get, basically what is amounts to the microwave scene in MGS4 with Sam continuously dying over and over again and then repatriating. Um, and then, you know, even to the conclusion is completely reminiscent of the ending of MGS4. You have Sam and then Higgs just fighting it out. They even got the health bars like a fighting game with the themes, and they're just talking shit to each other. It's all just like I said, nudges to the past, and I've moved on from those. I don't know why they keep bringing them back, and it's just tiring because it doesn't seem like DS2 is its own thing anymore. It almost seems like Lou is the stand-in for the death of Metal Gear, and it's like Sam is dealing with the loss of Metal Gear. That's it's like the uh the stand-in for both of those things. There are even parts in this that are Handmaid's Tale levels of cringe. And if you don't believe me, trust me, I came with receipts. So check this out.
I tried to refine the pod tech to find a way to help women and their children. But treatment and life extension are impossible. All I could do was look. Even so, word got around and mothers in need of support started coming here. But unfortunately, not long after, men came knocking too. Men who wanted women. What could I do? I was only a doctor who delivered babies. And nothing more. Luckily, I had strong women around me. Mothers who were willing to stand up and fight for the sake of us all.
But as soon as we decided to take up arms, our man friends only got bolder.
If we don't fight back, they'll enslave us.
We can't and won't lay down our arms till our safety is guaranteed.
With that being said, how does any of that shit make sense for this world that we're supposed to be in? People fucking die and turn into goddamn craters in this. So it just seems kind of like a luxury to believe this sort of thing, that you want to be enslaved. Everybody just wants you to have children with. It's like, God forbid, the fucking, it's human nature to reproduce and keep the species going. But they're evil for doing that. And then again, like none of this stuff is elaborated on later on down the game. And you know what? If it is in that Canva thing, I'm not gonna go read like, you know, Death Stranding Wikipedia like that's included in the game. Like this stuff, you made it a point to put it in there in a cutscene. You should have elaborated on it later. I'm not gonna do homework just to get the full story. That is ridiculous to expect that from people. If you had really good lore and whatnot, it's fine, but it seems like this is just a throwaway. because it's again like it's just the demonization of everything male, and it's weird. The part that's rich about all of this is that I can kind of see why it's happening, right? You take into consideration everything that happened with MGS5. Do you remember how there was like this outrage over what Quiet looked like, her appearance, and the way she was portrayed in that? She's like basically naked, which is like fine, I guess. You know, it's Kojima. Kojima's always been a bit of a simp, right? Let's not kid ourselves, right? Like even with MGS2, they had all those posters of those girls in those lockers on the tanker and whatnot, and then you could call the codec, call Hal or Otacon, I guess, like on the codec, and you had that like that funny cutscene and whatnot. Yeah, sure, okay. Like there's always been beautiful women in these games and whatnot. That's fine. But this just seems like a massive like apology tour for everything that he's done because he doesn't want to get me too'd from stuff in the past. That's what it seems like to me, especially when you see like who he surrounds himself with, like Kojima. This is who I'm talking about, right? Kojima is just completely like obsessed and adores and idolizes like, you know, movie actors. It's bizarre to me. And I think that like, he's no longer at this point where he's humble anymore, and like he's basically sponged and become or adopted the forms of thinking predominantly consumes like all of Hollywood, basically, where it's like, I mean, you see these themes everywhere. Everything is so nihilistic now. I'm surprised no one's talked about any of this stuff, brought it up in any videos or even in the reviews. No one's brought this stuff up, and I think honestly the only reason it gets a pass is because again, it's Kojima's name and it's slapped on the cover of the jewel case and everything. So it's like if this was anyone else's game, if Kojima wasn't attached to it at all, I don't think anybody would be praising this for what it is. That's just my take. And if this stuff didn't sour the game for you, that's totally cool. Hey man, but it soured it for me, and that's just my thoughts on it. So, again, thanks for stopping by, and have a good one. Take care, y'all.